Hello, everyone, and welcome to Solar Sidekicks. We are at episode 24 today, and thank you so much for joining us in the studio. We're going to be talking about all things solar, and I'm your host. My name is Pat Southwell, licensed electrical inspector. All right, so first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional landowners of where we're recording this today, and that's the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to all elders, past, present, and emerging. Last week's show went really well. We had Kaz Saunders in from the Solar Training Centre. Thanks again, Kaz, for making your way down to Carrum, all the way from Adelaide, even though you only came down from Springvale or wherever it is that you were staying. You made your way down, and it is appreciated. Had some really good insights about the health industry, being a physio, living with Steve, which is probably a bit of a challenge.
Hats off.
All respect to you, Steve. We love you, mate. You know we love you. Also, drawing parallels between the solar industry and the health industry. She sort of made me see the industry in a little bit of a different light. So thanks very much, Kaz. It was a really nice episode. And thanks for all the stuff you and Steve are doing. Okay, so we have another guest today. Our guest has come in from downtown Druin. Welcome to Carrum, Shane Clayton.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for having me here today.
No worries, Shane. Thanks very much for coming in. We've been talking about doing this for a little while, and you've finally been able to make it into the studio.
Yeah. I was probably a little bit reluctant at first. I'm not super comfortable being in the limelight as such, but it was probably. I'd just been through an LEI assessment at the time. It was probably a little bit raw and wasn't super keen at the time.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. That's all good. I'm happy you're here now anyway. And it's been, tell you what, I always like to mention a little bit about the weather. So we've turned the corner into spring now. Yeah. Geez, hasn't the winds been nuts this week in Melbourne and surrounding? You in Gippsland, you've copped it probably even worse.
We really copped it during the Warragul area. We're quite high up, and the winds were just relentless. Yeah,
it was insane, wasn't it? It was insane. And then today it's weird again. Like we're in t-shirts. It was 23 degrees this morning when I got up.
Yeah.
Pretty strange. And the wind seems to have kicked up again. So anyway, any solar installers who are out there, just try and be safe in these conditions. It's quite challenging. I've been finding it quite challenging out of the roofs this week. Haven't been able to do a full week, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're not exactly carrying solar panels across the roof.
No, exactly.
Times,
no, that's right. Yeah. That's right. I don't even get on the roof. No, actually, that's not true. That's not true.
I'm
just
trying
to play the buffoon a little bit here. I certainly do get on the roof, and it's been a bit of a challenging week. But anyway, that's all good. All right. Well, Shane, you have been around solar for a while. You have, it's been about 30 years. Is that about right?
Yeah,
that's a long time, mate.
It has.
I think you're a pioneer. Is that right? You sit in that.
Don't think I'd.
Doesn't sit comfortable with you.
No. But it's certainly been around a long time. I mean, I've had lucky enough to have quite a wide, experience in the spectrum of the electrical trade.
Yep.
From construction through to house bashing and, commercial, industrial. And it was a long, long time ago that we moved out to Druin as a young family.
Yep.
And just went for that country existence as such. And
where were you before that? Where were you?
Well, I actually was around I grew up in Cranbourne.
Yeah.
But,
Cranny.
Yeah, Cranny boy.
You must have been a tough kid.
Yeah. you literally didn't survive if you weren't. So right into my sports and things as I was younger, all the way through to the senior footy we moved to. I met my wife when I was doing my apprenticeship down in Frankston.
Oh, right.
Met my wife down there and we moved in together into a little unit in Frankston and eventually bought our first property in Turritin.
Yep.
Sold my beloved car for that. Then basically we moved to Druin. Our son was very young.
Yep.
And daughter was on the way, sort of thing. So,
yep.
And being that rural electrician, sort of opened up to the area that you're in. We're in dairy country. We're in the wood industry.
Yep.
And also quite a few quarries and things like that. So you've got quite a wide experience in doing breakdown work and things like that. But also we were sort of really on the edge of hillbilly country too. Like there's a lot of off-grid solar people living out in the bush and things like this. And
Druin also probably back then was probably not quite as urbanised as it is now.
No, it was a lovely little rural town. It was only about 6,000 people.
Yeah, well now you can go through parts of Druin and you think you're in Pakenham or somewhere like that. It's like
just insane.
It is, yeah. It's almost like you're in suburban Melbourne with some parts.
Yeah. It's certainly feeling that way.
How does that sit with you?
No, not great. Not great.
You got out there for a reason.
Yeah. We found the nice Sleepy Hollow out there, and it's sort of now it's really suburbanised.
Yeah, still a nice place.
It's a lovely outlook.
Yeah. It's still not as busy as around here though, mate. I know. A lot of you locals probably claim it is, but it's not. Like,
that's right.
It's still it's a lovely spot.
Yeah. So basically, being in that sort of zone, the work that I was doing a couple of times, I got very early on, got sent out to look at a little off-grid system that wasn't working. And it was a bit of a homebrew job, I must say. Most of them were back then.
Bit of figure eight between a couple of things.
A bit of everything, and it really sort of amazed me of how it was literally a bad connection that just had to test things and work it out. But all of a sudden, working with DC,
bit different.
It's, and I did a fair bit of work on cars. My dad was a mechanic when he was younger, and as a young bloke, we used to work on the cars together a little bit. And so I sort of had a little bit of experience with the DC side of it more. But then, found the fault, fixed the fault. But I was really amazed that this fella was living out in the bush by himself, and he had all these luxuries of TV and light and power and water and things like this, and from the sun, from a wind turbine. And
do you remember what they were running? Do you remember the inverter they were running? You can't remember?
No.
What would it probably have been? Like some sort of...
Yeah, it would have been, could have been an early, Selectronic or something like that. You know, so that was sort of... You used to come across all sorts of things back then, and a lot of it was... It's not like nowadays where you can just buy anything off the internet. It's more from those auto electrical types scenarios. So, it was just sort of surprised me, and because I did that, the fellow I was working for at the time, every time it popped up, it was okay. I don't have to go look at that now. Shane can go to that one.
Ah, good one.
and it's sort of one of those things that not a lot of electricians back then really wanted to go anywhere near it. They're in their happy place doing their thing, and so at the end of the day, you started getting referrals from other Sparkies saying, "Hey, Shane go out and look at this job?"
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't really until the early 2000s when grid connected stuff started kicking off.
Yeah. Well, in the 90s, there was like pretty much no grid connect, was there? It was all just off-grid, standalone.
There was a few people sort of playing in that space, but it was sort of the early 2000s that really that started kicking off. And then obviously, around the 2008 with the government rebates,
AGO rebates and all that.
66 cents. That's when things really started moving. But already I was sort of really keen and interested around that, and when things really kicked off, that's when I went sort of more mainstream. It really interested me, and I could see, opportunity there as well. So I moved more into that space. Yeah.
Okay. And you were still doing when you started getting into your sort of mainstream solar, were you still doing your general A-grade light and power stuff as a combination?
Yeah, sort of a little bit as a combination. I sort of had a couple of times I'd endeavoured to run my own business and things like that. And to be honest, I could probably comfortably say I was quite a reasonable electrician, but as a businessman, I wasn't very good. And then it took a few really sore experiences to really notice that, and that sort of led me to the pathway and my journey through solar, really where it is now. So once I recognised that and made some changes, which were obviously positive for me.
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of people would know you from, like when we all sort of started speaking to each other properly in the industry, which is sort of the advent of social media a little bit. But a lot of people knew you as being from Gippsland Solar.
Yeah.
So So what? How did that come about? Did you know Andy before or anything like that? Or
well, sort of. I was in a neighbouring town.
Yeah.
We all know Andy's from Irving North, and I was in a neighbouring town that had my own business, and and we've all heard me say that I wasn't very good at it. So,
Yep.
But anyway, and to be honest, that business was going quite well, but with the solar coaster, things downturned, and we had a little bit of thing going over in Cambodia, believe it or not, and because things went quiet here, we sort of put a bit of an effort there.
Yep.
And then we ended up getting really burnt over there. So, and that's when I came back home and was licking my wounds a little bit, and that's when the phone rang, and it was Andy, believe it or not. So, and yeah, he, because I'd been in it for so long, I had relationships with suppliers, and some of the suppliers, they like to have exclusivity to certain distributors, certain retailers, and I had some exclusive access to some product, some really good product. And Andy used to buy some of that off me. So we had, even though we were competitive, we had a good relationship back then. We'd say good day, and and of course in the background you're going, damn, he won that job, and yes, I beat him on this one. Those sorts of things. But face to face, we were, professional and and friendly. So. He basically was trying to get some more product, and so we went straight to the supplier and said, what's going on with Shane? I can't get hold of him, and they basically let him know, look, Shane's shut the doors, sort of thing. So, he got my phone number, direct phone number, from them basically, and we caught up for a coffee, and at that point he was in a bit of a crossroad of what he was trying to do with the business. He was using subcontractors, and he just felt like he was really struggling around that.
Was that when didn't he kind of shut the doors for a little while, I think, or he sort of half did, or
no, he just was really battling with the management of doing sales, running the business, getting the jobs done, things like this. So, and he to be honest, he'd started a really successful advertising campaign, and that was one of the things that really hurt my business at the time, so...
Good one, Andy.
The bugger. But anyway, it would have been inevitable anyway, because I just wasn't a good business person, I just didn't have that ruthlessness and that foresight sort of thing, so... But, we partnered together, and my vision was that, he needed to grow, and he had the ability to grow, but we just didn't have the workforce. So my view was, well, if you don't have it, you got to train it. You got to build it up. So we put on, an A-grade electrician who was one of our subbies, and put on an apprentice to help him, and then it just sort of literally grew. Then we needed another electrician, and then another apprentice, and then another van, and and it just sort of naturally grew from there. And within 12 months, it was just nuclear. Just
bit of a juggernaut, wasn't it?
It was. We just had the mix right. I was sort of mostly the technical person, but also doing sales. Because I was very good at sales, and Andy was too. But it just went. It seemed to be. We seemed to fill that niche. The yin and yang just worked really well there. And it took off. Went ballistic.
Yeah, right. I want to take like a little backward step, but it's also a little bit of a side step too. So I know Andy's spoken a lot about growing a business in coal country, right?
Yes.
And about the social license that coal has in Gippsland.
Yes.
And it's been, trying to, work in solar is a difficult thing because of the way the industry is out there. Have you got any thoughts on that? How hard that was, or did you see that much yourself?
Well, it's a real thing. You got to have. You got to have moral compass. You really do, and it's people's livelihood. And this was before Hazelwood shut down, things like that. But it was still, the writing was on the wall, and people were starting to see it. And the workers in the industry were sort of They spent a long time building up to the working conditions that they have, and kudos to them. But it's unfortunately it's not a never-ending opportunity. It's going to run out at some point, and the goals are shifting a bit. There was a fair bit of animosity at time, but I think we were really respectful around that.
Yeah.
And we tried not to be too much in the face.
Yeah.
But we also...
I know Andy's spoken about that, about how he was, where he's spoken about how he was almost belligerent to it, saying, well, you're in the wrong industry, this is the way of the future, and this is where I'm going, and you're either with me or against me. And that really didn't work in Gippsland. And then once he sort of took a bit of a different approach.
Tell you, when you try and do that in a room full of people that are on the other side of the fence, and you just got stares coming at you, and you sort of look back at it and you think, well, maybe that wasn't the best approach.
Yeah.
So no, it's sort of. I think we did things really well. I think it was a hugely successful business, it was a hugely successful company, and there was reasons behind that, and the people in it and the way we went about things, I think was really. It was done well.
Yeah.
And if we hadn't have had those approaches, we hadn't had that respect and moral compass, I'm not sure we would have quite been as successful as we were.
Yeah.
But because we did, people still wanted to save on their bills.
Yeah,
they still wanted this and wanted that. And we had a lot of runs on the board by then. And probably just doing things well and doing it properly, was your best advertising, because the repeat customers and the endorsements, you get referrals and things like this was our biggest gain, at that time.
Yeah. Well, I certainly know what it's like when you don't quite take the right approach with people in Gippsland. Probably mentioning, I've mentioned this in Andy's podcast as well, but you were there that night in Terrelgan when I did that CEC install night.
A little bit volatile, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, and wasn't it? Yeah. It wasn't whatever was going on with the Solar Vic stuff had nothing to do with me. But
no,
I was still I was the one that they decided.
You were the one.
I was the scapegoat. Yeah. I was. That's it. Yeah. Solar Vic didn't turn up to that one. That was probably a smart move on their behalf.
That's right. But that was sort of that was some of the energy that was around the area at the time, and there was certainly along those lines, even like we just mentioned around the putting renewables into coal country. So that transition was real. It was it's a living thing. So but that was certainly an interesting night, that one. So.
Yeah, well, most of the installer nights I'd done to that point had gone pretty well, to be honest. I thought, this is all right. This is a good gig. That one was, it was a learning experience for me, that's for sure.
Yeah. But you did handle it well too.
Oh, mate. I suppose I did. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting a little bit, but usually... Oh, look, I think, I probably handled it okay, but I wasn't expecting them to be so...
But to be honest, it really wasn't the first or the last time that, staff at the CEC, was at the brunt... the brunt end of it.
Yeah.
The aggression. So.
Yeah, and also probably when we didn't deserve it too, I feel like. There's a lot of the time where CEC were right at the front of it, copping it, and there was no... It was someone else doing something or whatever. Yeah. But you're just seen as that person who... Yeah. Anyway, that's all right. That's all in the past. That's all in the past now.
It's growing.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so you moved along when you finish up at Gippsland Solar. Was that 2019? Something like 2020 maybe? I don't know.
2020, 2021.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I was obviously we know the journey there is RACV.
RACV, because you went through that transition, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you were at RACV
and
for
it was sort of something that was always writing was on the wall for that.
Yep.
It was inevitable that it was going to happen, but the reality is that I was probably a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
I'm just not corporate.
Yep.
I'm always be the tradie.
Yeah.
Management was I always found that difficult. And always aspired to do that, which was a bit of a burden.
Yep.
but we're going through that journey was quite tough at times, but inevitably, I mean, I've got a lot to thank Andy for around that, the inevitable demise, as you might say. He was there to look after me through that, so they're really appreciative of that. So, that sort of one door closes, another one opens. You know? So, I mean, while I was with Gippsland Solar as such, we got invited to sit on some sector advisory groups for technical support and, developing training packages, trying to find issues. Right. And
remember that webinar we did at the CEC?
Yeah.
You came in the CEC. It was about the NETS project.
Yeah, that's it.
In about 2018, 2019.
Well, it all kicked off well before that because it was it was really the development of the NETS project, which took a few years.
It did.
And I sort of sat on the sector advisory group for that, and they actually asked Andy, but he wasn't as the technical side of things, and he felt like that I was the better person for that.
Yep.
So it was a bit of a personal growth pathway for me in that side of things.
Yep.
And I was always sort of, really did a lot of our training internally anyway. So it's sort of been a natural thing having apprentices all my career and things like this. So
it was a good fit.
It was, and that sort of pushed me sort of towards doing more technical SME type work and developing the programs, and and then starting to deliver those programs in pilots and things like that. And that's when we were talking in that CEC podcast there. That sort of opened other doors of started getting phone calls from training organisations saying, Shane, we need a trainer, can you come and do this? And things like that. And you build up relationships in that area too. And as that RACV door closed, other doors opened up. And that sort of sees me where I am now. I'm in a pretty good paddock now and enjoying life. And I'm obviously an industry trainer now with the
So you got your Cert 4 in TAE. You went and got that.
Yeah,
that's a tough gig, I reckon, mate. Well done on doing that.
I did that part-time too.
Yeah.
That was like 2 nights a week and Saturdays for about 7 months. And that was through COVID too. So
at least it gave you something to concentrate on, I suppose.
Yeah.
Is that how you approached it?
It was. But it's interesting when they coax you into starting the course. They don't actually tell you about the amount of hours involved in it.
I've been warned plenty of times by people. Yeah.
So the very first class we had this lady that she was a very experienced trainer and she was absolutely brilliant, and from Box Hill TAFE she was, and she says, I just want to make sure you all know that we've got a lot of hours in class to go through, but you need to do 2 to 3 times more than that at home. And you know what? She wasn't wrong. So there was a lot of work in it.
Yeah. Did you struggle or you got through okay? How'd you...
I was more fatigued than anything, you do I generally didn't do 8-hour days, by the time you're travelling and get in early and all that sort of stuff. And then race up to, we were going up to Homesglen in Chadstone, pretty much up there that way. So 2 nights a week there and then Saturdays as well. And you do that for 7 months. It sort of... it certainly catches up with you at the end.
Yeah.
It was a good one to finish, I can tell you.
Oh, you would have celebrated that one, I reckon.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I didn't have the wish to go into training or anything at that stage, which was the interesting one. I seemed to take on these courses and expand my knowledge and things like this without an end game. It's sort of, we've been having lots of discussions, you and I, about the LEI side of things as well. So that's sort of, that's been another one. So,
Let's touch on that a little bit. You've done a bit of training with the LEI, haven't you? You've gone through, you would have done your tutorials over the last few years about the LEI.
Yeah. We've done a lot of training, but it's sort of probably if we step back a little bit and why did I go down that pathway? And I mean, it's something that always interested me, the LEI side of things, and I had opportunities to go into that, and it was probably would have been if the whole Gippsland Solar thing didn't happen, that's probably where I would have gone.
Yeah, right.
And back then, so that was about 2013 or something like that, 2012 or something. So 2012. But anyway, these sector advisory groups again, what actually happened is that, remember when we just had a massive shortage of LEIs?
Yeah, a few years ago,
for solar.
Yeah, I do, yep.
And we
huge weights and stuff.
We even had some, I think it was the Smart Energy Council had a bit of a webinar to talk about it. And what that basically brought forward was, I think pretty sure it was a Solar Victoria contractor that they put some money in to develop some training and try get more LEIs in, but also to upskill the LEIs, because there was something, it was like less than 50 LEIs in Victoria that were even touching solar at the time.
I heard it was there was 40 that were active.
Yes.
That's what I heard at the time.
That's about right. So, and that was out of about 250 active LEIs at the time, so it was a pretty low percentage really. So, and then I helped develop the training package for that, the skill sets for doing the LEI training for solar, working as a subject matter expert. And I sort of thought to myself, Shane, if you're going to start teaching this shit, you need to start, you need to get that, the knowledge and skills. You need to actually get in there and actually be an LEI or learn the LEI side of things to have relevance. And that started my ball rolling. I started going out to Melton and did all of the training classes out there.
Yeah, it's a long way from Druin. Jeez, that's even further than me. Yeah. Had another hour and a half from where you were.
Yeah.
Jeez, I thought that was tough for me.
Yeah, it was tough. It was over 3 months worth, and it's, and then the whole process of trying to become an LEI.
It's certainly a hard one. There's no doubt about it. There's I don't know what else to say. It's very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've always said if you've been in the solar industry for 5 years, you're a resilient person, And then I sort of got some theories. If you've been there for 10 years, you're quite tough, You've been there for 15, so well, maybe you start questioning what's going on upstairs. What are you doing to yourself? But the LEI was a tough pathway, and it's a pretty demoralising pathway. It's probably, it's put me into some really low places and that.
Just in your personal life and your thoughts.
Personal life and that sort of thing. The black dog was really sort of shaken hard, in a few times. And I've been lucky, you build some good friendships in this industry. And we're lucky with the industry we have because there's so many really good people.
It's probably the best part of it, isn't it?
I don't know of an industry like it, and that collaborates together and supports each other. And there was some dark times and some times when good friends just rang up out of the blue and said, "G'day, mate, just ringing up to see how you're going." And you got no idea what that means, and
for sure.
And they know who they are, and they're going to be lifelong friends, and you'll always remember those things. But sure. It was certainly a tough journey. You think that it's a bit of growth and things like that, but it gets even way beyond that.
For sure.
And anybody that's been through that process would understand exactly that. But I think you've got to sort of go through that process to really experience it.
Well, we were talking about it a little bit before, like just about you kind of go through your career as an electrician. Yeah. And I think we both thought, we had this conversation where we both thought we're both pretty good at testing.
Yeah.
I thought I was good until I started doing the LEI stuff, and then I'm like, I'm way below the level I need to be at. And then you start getting good at it, and you're thinking, well, I'm pretty good. And you look at the difference in that time, and it's amazing.
Yeah. When you look back, it's great to have foresight.
Yeah.
And I was exactly the same. I was a very technical person, always been that technical person, and through my career played those roles. So I thought it was a perfect fit. Yeah. But walking into those that 3 months of sessions at out in Melton, and you just you're sitting there for a couple of hours and thinking, wow, what I thought I knew that was correct 10 years ago, not now. And your knowledge and skills are well below what they really need to be. But even the early days of doing the LEI assessments, and you walk out of there really disappointed and thinking I did that really well and all that sort of stuff, and I should be this and I should be that. But I look back at that person then as to where I am now, and I go, nah, you weren't ready.
Yeah.
You know, and people were telling me that, you know, no, you're not quite ready yet, you know, and you just keep working hard and practice this and improve that, you know, and they were spot on there. You know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I can certainly say it's a difficult path, and it's almost a chapter in my history now that I don't really want to think about too much. It was because it was so hard. It really was. It was having an effect on so many different parts of my life.
Yeah.
And
even family, you know, like, you know, many times that, you know, every time you book to do an assessment, it's another $600, and then you got, you know, your wife and kids sort of saying, Dad, you know, why are you doing this to yourself?
Yeah.
You know, why are you putting yourself through this? Because I mean, I don't have the vision and desire to go out and start an LEI business and that sort of thing. I'll never run a business again myself.
Yeah.
No interest in whatsoever. It's just about personal growth, and it's about enjoying my career, my working career.
Yep.
And people play a big part of that, and that's why I enjoy where I'm at now.
Yeah.
You know, getting to be around people and things like this. So,
well, we did a bit of that course you're talking about that you were delivering. So I came in,
the
helped you with that one.
skill set too.
Yeah. Came in and
you were
what do we do? 5 or 6 courses or something? I think of different LEIs.
Yeah.
We're doing like every second Monday for a while. Mate, I can tell I can tell now that you would like, you knew more about solar than pretty much anyone in those rooms. Like, they were all those LEIs are sitting there going, oh, I didn't know this. Oh, I thought it was that.
They loved it, didn't they?
Oh, they lapped it up. But it changed my perception about a lot of the LEIs. I thought a lot of them were just...
I was the same.
I thought a lot of them were just, you know, old blokes that don't care and whatever.
To be honest, I honestly, you know, I was fair nervous about the first one. And thinking, you know, here I am, you know, green, standing up in front of experienced LEIs.
Yep.
But, you know, within a couple of hours, they were like sponges. Mate.
Yep.
They absolutely loved it. And it was really good training. And I don't know of a single one that walked out of there going, yeah, that was pretty crap. You know, I didn't really get anything out of that.
No, I think they all definitely got stuff out of it. Yeah. And I think it opened a lot of their eyes as well, thinking, oh, geez, I've been signing this stuff off and probably didn't know this. Glad I know it now, but
And they still message me now.
Yeah.
You know, all those LEIs that we ran through that, you know, I regularly hear from them and, you know, hey, Shane, what do you think about this? You know, technical questions.
Yep.
But, you know, there was quite a few of them that were too scared to even touch solar and battery systems.
Yep.
And you know, they're going great guns now.
Yeah, good.
So it was a really good course.
I thought it was good too. I thought it was really good.
I would have thought it'd be, you know, would have taken off wider and they would have done a lot more. But
yeah. Well, hopefully in the future there's more of this type of things coming up, because I think, you know, you can't just do a course and then just leave it at that. You got to keep this upkeep of things.
Yeah.
LEIs is the same. Yeah. Got to make sure you're remembering all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, we're sort of helping them a little bit in the background at the moment, just at a very basic level, and with a bit of technical support. They're obviously developing the CPD training. You know, we've got CPD training for all of our A grades.
Yep.
But we're now, you know, they've been developing the CPD training for LEIs as well. So they've got the new renewable energy class. So
that's it.
They're just putting the final touches on that now. And
is there CPD for RE as well as G?
Yeah, so the G class LEI does an 8-hour day.
Yeah, I knew that.
Just for the G class, and they must do 4 hours for every endorsement they have.
So coming up, I've got my A grade. I've got a full day coming up, and then I got 8 hours of G class LEI, and then another 4 hours of RE.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Oh well, that's good. That's good. That's not bad. That's only every 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Is that right? That's
every 5 years.
Every 5 years, every time you do a renewal.
Yeah. I feel for those LEIs that have got all the endorsements.
Hazardous.
Hazardous.
Medical.
HV.
Oh, jeez.
Poor buggers.
Yeah. Oh well, they're going to have learned some stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, we've seen a huge success of the CPD for the A grade electricians.
Yeah.
It's a really good day. Energy Safe Victoria and Future Energy Skills, and they've done some really good work on that. And a lot of walk in going, I'm really not sure what we're going to come across today, but they all walk out the door going, yeah, that was a really good day.
Well, I've heard you can't get them out of the class. Like they go to leave, you go, like, okay, we're finished now, guys, and they're like, oh, I just want to know about this and this and this and this.
We've got all the latest test gear and that. And, you know, there's so much good gear there, and got really good trainers. You know, our trainers are really experienced, really good people. and they bring up the average when I'm in there. So,
anyway, don't sell yourself short, mate.
But the A grades, they get on the gear and they love it. And a lot of them haven't done that, any of that testing and that sort of practical work for years and decades even. Just because their job doesn't require it, so it's a really good refresher, and the LEIs are going to. It'll be good too.
Yeah, looking forward to being able to do mine. All right, well, Shane, we're going to go to our first break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the stuff that you're doing at Centre for You. We haven't really even touched on that yet. Throughout the episode as well, we're going to be having a little chat about just some thoughts on the industry and how it's evolving. We'll have some general chats about that, and there'll be plenty more coming right up. Okay, and we're back from our first break. The Tim Tams are going down well.
They're fantastic.
Not bad, are they?
Can't beat a Tim Tam.
All right, Shane. So you're now working at the Centre for You.
Yeah.
You're doing that. You've been there for a little while now. That's where we did that delivery of that course with the LEIs and all those sort of things. So what's your day-to-day stuff looking like at the moment in Centre for You? What sort of stuff are you doing?
When we run quite a variety of courses, and probably the core is the CPD training for A-grade electricians, but we do a lot of specialty courses and construction wiring and those sorts of bits and pieces for construction industry. And but also we do got our renewable energy training area as well. So we run the solar and batteries and things like that, and also electric vehicle charging infrastructure. Of course, we actually developed that ourselves. I obviously played a role in that.
When's vehicle to grid coming, mate?
Believe it or not, it's pretty much ready to go. It's only we just need COAG to line up now and get the financial and the legislative side of things. We've got our standards in there.
Standards are ready, yeah.
Yeah, we're ready to rock. Are you going to talk about that in another episode or two, I believe?
No, with
Sandy?
Sandy, 4777.1, definitely.
I'd love to interview him.
Yeah.
So he's a champion.
If you've got any questions, pass them on.
I've got a lot of time for Sandy.
Yeah, he's good.
And I think everyone has.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, all right. So, what's happening in the EV space? Like, you're doing the charging infrastructure type stuff.
Yeah.
Learning how to install chargers. Is that mainly the?
Yeah, it was a Victorian government initiative that basically, obviously, there's a lot of concern of how we're going to integrate EVs into the grid. Like they're big draw, big current, big draw items, and they run for a long period of time. So you can literally be drawing 32 ampere, on the average home, but you could be doing that for 8 to 12 hours. So that has an impact on the grid. It has an impact on the electrical infrastructure in the job, and there's a fair bit of concern of how that's going to be done in a professional way. Because at the end of the day, we want safe electrical installations, and we want a good customer experience too. Because you can't transition to a new technology if the customers, the early adopters, are having a really poor experience. So that was the key.
I feel like on this topic though, like especially all the stuff you see in the media, it's very much focused on what the issues are going to be. And from where I'm sounding, and I'm certainly no expert, I don't think anyway, maybe I am, I don't know. I've got a perspective anyway, but I feel like it solves a lot of problems as well. So
it's literally got more positives than negatives, and all of the risks are real. But the reality is that the federal government actually tabled a review of a report. They actually had an external company do a report for the government to actually see what the risks were and what do we need in the way of a workforce. What technologies we should be doing. How's the grid going to cope with all this addition of 100,000 cars a year? We're there already. So the reality is that it was a really good report, and the reality is the report said, look, these are all genuine risks, but in real life experience, how people actually use them and how technology is evolving around some of these problems, that the risks just aren't playing out. And and it did come up with some recommendations, which, whether government adopts that or not, that's a government thing.
Yeah.
There was certainly validity in those. So, but realistically, the technology sort of and the technology is sort of getting around a lot of our problems. And when we go to that next step, that bi-directional and grid interactive and also having the external dread control and things like this, where they are becoming a part of the solution rather than a part of the part of the problem. The goalposts are going to start changing then. The financial argument is already quite strong for an EV now. Just the running costs.
Only going to get stronger. Like, I've seen some of the prices of, I've heard some of the prices of some of the Chinese EVs that are already out in China and they're coming to Australia within the next 12 months. And it is insane. It's going to be a game changer.
No, look, we're talking thousands, they're talking millions. It's just exponentially so, and they're doing our sales in a week type scenario. But they're just great at, we've got a problem here, let's just solve it.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And let's not talk about it and muck around and argue and fight, and we just make it happen.
Yeah. How do you reckon like, let's say there's a huge influx of EVs into the market over the next 12 months. If things stay the way they are now, how do you reckon we're gonna deal with it? Like, that's what worries me a little bit, because we've been so slow with these type of things you're talking about. And then if there is an influx, which I think there could be soon, I think a lot of people are just going to get EVs soon, because there's going to be more out there.
I mean, the biggest barrier to the EV market has been the supply. Very few models, high prices, those sorts of things. Now, like, we've got 60 odd different models now, and by the end of this year, we'll probably have nearly another 60.
Yeah,
it's just exponentially coming on strong, and the reality is they're getting better. They're getting cheaper. They're getting further range. The batteries themselves are charging faster and all those sorts of things. To be honest, I think the biggest Achilles heel right now for the EV industry is the charging infrastructure. But that report also, that report that was tabled, it determined that there's going to be greater than 80% of all EV charging will happen in the home or the workspace.
Well, this is it, isn't it? So you don't necessarily need that infrastructure there. If people got solar and they're charging it at the right times, that's going to be
and also businesses. I think we will probably see some rebates that coming out at the moment. Rebates are really structured around home solar and home batteries. But I think they're going to come on strong for businesses, because there's a massive opportunity there for businesses to be charging, 3 or 4, 5, 6 EVs while people are in there working. It's a no-brainer.
Well, and you know what Australians are like as well. Don't mind something for free, so they'll plug in the office, drive home, and then they'll plug their house in.
Well, that's it. I was going to say, you throw bi-directional in there, you charge your car at work and take it home, plug it in,
classic Australian, isn't it?
Run the house all night. You run the house all night. You're only taking a small percentage out of the battery.
It's hardly anything. That's right.
It's like going up to the milk bar and back. It's just
pretty much.
So. No, that's right around the corner, mate. It's coming faster. It's going to smack us in the face.
Yeah, I know.
It's literally there, and there's a lot of excited people around 4771 dropping, and I'm definitely one of those.
Yeah,
it's been a big Achilles heel for industry for a while.
Yeah. What you mean 4777 just with the whole solar industry, or just with everything?
Well, the solar industry, and I think we've. It was a 2016 version.
It's pretty old now.
Mate, it's like buying a phone or a laptop. Like, by the time you get it home, it's out of date. And so 2016 is just archaic for such a rapid industry.
I know. I felt like that document was almost out of date within 6 months of it being published. There were some things in there that changed so quickly around that time.
Yeah. And the introduction of batteries, it didn't really sort of cater for that, because it really wasn't a thing so much.
Yeah.
At 2016, it's sort of batteries were just starting to kick off, but they hadn't really got mainstream and even thought of being financially viable,
Although I must say that document, that 2016 version of 4777.1, it is actually much better than the previous one, which I think was 2005.
It was like they're big leaps forward.
Yeah, yeah.
But it also it's been a big Achilles heel for the last period of time. That's really held industry up.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, even though the DNSPs sort of even acknowledge it that 30 kilowatt secondary protection.
Yeah.
It was actually causing more problems for the DNSPs than not having it. Because the technology in the inverters went past it.
Yeah, that's right.
Literally.
There was no need for the secondary protection because the inverters were so good.
Yeah, 4771 was sitting in the left slow lane, and we were in the the industry jumped into the right lane and jumped onto the autobahn. It was just got left behind.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think there's still some DNSPs that are going to be sticking fat with the 30 kilowatt.
Yeah,
but I mean, for how long? Who knows? Because it's it is in there. There is a clause in there that says it's still up to the discretion of the DNSPs.
Unfortunately, it's always up to the DNSPs in that they can literally do whatever they want. So.
Yeah. All right. No. All right. Cool. Well, let's change speeds a little bit. Let's talk about a little bit about how our solar industry has evolved a little bit, and I think you've been a pretty big part of that. Yeah, it's been a little bit, hasn't it? Like over the last decade or so, we touched on a little bit of this stuff with Longy when he came in.
Yeah.
Social media's played a pretty big part in how we do our day-to-day business, how we learn, how we interact with our peers as well.
Yep.
And
it's quite a unique industry for that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think we jumped onto it pretty early, and we're still doing it. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm on the Cutters Facebook page every day, checking stuff and having a look at things. I know that's right.
It becomes a way of life.
That's it. Yeah, pretty much. But you were sort of at the forefront of this quite early on when some of those collaborative groups were started.
I mean, fair to say at that point in the industry there was a lot of we started seeing those really cheap companies come through and just leave a mess, and very poor workmanship, poor quality, and things like that, and then we saw we saw obviously the introduction of Carrum Solar, our Chris Storky, our mate.
Yep.
So
another mention for you, Storky.
Yeah, there you go,
I saw you. Man, you loved it when Longy mentioned you. Here's another mention for you, Storky. Love what you're doing, mate.
And what an amazing page that was at the time. And then we saw I was flicking through and just searching solar on Facebook and saw the CEC accredited installers working together.
Yeah,
AU New Zealand, right? And believe it or not, it was one of my former apprentices, Clifford Wigg. Cliffy, and he actually started the page, and we had Jordan Dangerfield on there, and that. And I sort of reached out to him, and it was kicking off at that point, and it becoming really popular, and he was sort of struggling a little bit with it, and I said, well, do you mind if I jump on? I've got a lot to say, in this space, and so I jumped on as an admin then, and that was pretty early days, and I was probably very active, for quite a long time, and I think that page did a lot of wondrous things for the industry in starting that collaboration, starting that promotion of good quality stuff, and because let's face it, nobody wanted their job, and everybody had it at some point.
A Carrum Solar.
One of their jobs pop up on Carrum Solar, so it's sort of one of those things. But being able to showcase something that was good, and also be able to have an area, a forum where you could jump in and ask questions without being ridiculed, and most of the time at least.
It got better. It improved, though, didn't it? I feel like the respect level just got better with time.
I mean, it's there's every facets of life. There's not so nice people, and that don't get on well with others. And our industry's very much has that element in there as well. But as a whole, I feel like the industry is well above the average in having good people and but having that collaborative approach. And I think that page went a long way towards that. And then we're able to get to conferences and you're talking to people and with people and collaborating and helping and things like that. And then you get to our all energy and things like that. And you can actually put faces together and you build really strong friendships. There's genuinely many people in the industry that I genuinely love. They're like family almost. And the best of friends. And lifelong friends, So there's not a lot of industries that you could sort of really say that,
Yeah. And you're right. A lot of it's been built on social media. Social media cops a pretty bad rap for a lot of things, distracting us, taking our time away from other things. But I think in this instance, it's been a really big positive for the industry. It's
fair to say that, some at some points in that journey, there was times where there was a void of information coming from either regulators or standards or things like that, and it was literally that collaboration that actually solved problems. You look at the early photos of quality. Quality Solar popped up at that time too, around that area. That era, and you look at some of the early installs and you go, yeah, that's a really good install. And you look at them now, and then you look back at those other ones, you go, okay, there was a strong evolution there. So it's pretty unique for that.
Yeah, it definitely brought us up. It definitely brought us all up, and it brought us all together, and started helping us see things in a similar light. I think. I think now like. My idea of a quality system is probably about the same as what yours is now, and we're all kind of on that same level, I reckon.
Yep. And it's fair to say that there's more quality than crap.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can walk onto a roof or something like this and walk around within a few minutes. You go, yep, this person's on it.
Yeah.
Or you can within minutes you go, okay, we've got to have a really good strong look at this one.
Pretty quick most of the time.
You tend to now, but it's a lot fewer, and far between now. And you're always going to have that element of it, but I think the overall quality now is light years above where it was in those early days.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's going to continue to get better too. I think. We're at a really good place now, I feel, but I feel like it's going to continue to get better. Based on really strong.
Let's face it, it's not an industry that's going to slow down.
No. Well, we do have our downturns.
Yeah.
But I agree. It's going to go from strength to strength.
We only saw announcements days ago from the federal government about workforce. The requirement for growth within the workforce. Something like 30,000 additional electricians. In the next by the end of this decade, and 100,000 by 2050. It's extraordinary numbers.
Yeah, it's funny, right? I actually I don't know if you saw this. I saw a comment from Brendan Laidlaw this week. So he mentioned something about
we love Brendan.
Yeah, we love Brendan. Of course we do.
Knackers.
Of course we do. He's always got something to say.
Yeah.
So he mentioned something about
and to be honest, I think it's important that industry has the Brendans in there.
He's a character.
Doesn't always say what everybody wants to hear.
I know.
And I think that's really.
He's always done that. He certainly said that to me. He said that to me a few times.
Yeah, he's never. He
hasn't pulled punches.
He's never stepped out of his natural self.
Yeah. Well, so he mentioned something about how there's a bit of a comment someone made, or there's a post someone made. I can't remember what it was about, but he commented saying something about downturns are always overplayed by governments. Sometimes downturns are good because it keeps people's wages high.
Yeah.
And in this industry, that's something we should be looking to do because the wages are almost being driven down by...
Yeah. And the reality is, and we see things happening in media, there's been a lot of negativity around, particularly the constructions area and things, but it's all still comes back to tradespeople. And, gone are the days where you literally have to force your kids to stay in school to get to uni to have any chance, Now trade's a really solid, field to go into. And working conditions have been important around that, and there's always going to be an effort to try and push that down. That's why I love seeing those sort of comments at times.
Yep.
Even though sometimes it's raw and you might not like it. Or, but the reality is, it gets you thinking.
It definitely did that with me. It made me think about it, what my stance is on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm really torn. I want electricians to be paid well. They
Yes.
should be paid well. It's a skilled job.
What's a high risk job?
It's a very high risk job. And if I'm thinking selfishly as well, obviously if electricians get paid well, I get paid better too, because it's a flow-on effect with inspectors and all those sort of things, right?
It's the whole industry.
Yeah. But I also see it from the other point of view, where we don't want this transition to clean energy to be so expensive that we can't get there. I think that too. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's mechanisms in place. I mean, I've always understood more around the back end of why we have the feed-in tariffs that we have.
Yep.
But now I feel like it's, big business that's driving policy.
Yeah.
And, and solar itself has always been a strong economical argument. You can't invest your money anywhere else and get those sort of returns. It's just reality. And if you're installing good quality gear, it's literally lasting decades. So, it's paying for itself time and time and time again. The battery argument's always, I've always been on the side that you don't do batteries for economical gain, but when you start having incentives and bi-directional, abilities and those sorts of things, that the legislation changes around that is going to help battery systems, home batteries.
Yep.
Because there is times when those batteries can support the grid, but they should be financially rewarded for that.
Yeah.
And that will happen. But the worker's always going to cop it. We're always got to keep fighting.
Yeah.
And working together as an industry to keep that, in a positive aspect.
Well, that's right. I feel like we're the ones on the ground doing it right. And you don't want just the people making money to be the white collar investment companies or whatever, the ones that obviously they need to make their money, or else there's going to be no money in it for anyone. But there's also, you need to keep that blue collar workforce on the ground. You need to keep them paid well to keep a strong industry.
Well, the thing is, as a tradesperson, solar is hard work. It's a tough gig, and as an installer, I genuinely love installing solar. And when I was management at Gippsland Solar and things like that, every now and then I'd get out on the tools. It was like a therapy day. Just out there with a grin from ear to ear, just going, I love this shit. This is fantastic. You know? And you get to sit back at the end of it and you go, yeah, that's a really good job. And you get some admiration from that, Whereas now the body's probably not, it doesn't.
Not what it used to be.
The mind loves it, but the body doesn't, And what he used to do in a day, it'd take me 3 now. And then I got a week to recover from that, the aches and pains. So, so I mean, it's almost like a professional footballer. You've only got a limited time where you're really in the game.
I agree.
So it's got to be, financially worth it. You got to be rewarded for that hard work and that effort. And if the money's not there, well, it's going to stifle the industry.
What do we do? Just as soon as we're about to be a year out of contract, and then we request a trade, like the footy players do, request a trade to the construction industry, or
you just get a good manager.
Get a good manager, you reckon?
They put you wherever you want, whenever you want. So.
Oh, that's it. We're all maybe we're all like Jake Stringer. We play well in a contract year, and then can't land a good deal. Anyway, interesting. Oh, that's interesting stuff.
As long as he stays at Essendon and doesn't come to Carrum, mate. So.
Yeah, I don't know if I want him, to be honest. I love the guy. He's a great player.
He's just got that X factor, hasn't he? But it's just a bit hit and miss.
Essendon do not need. We need consistency, mate.
Yeah, that's all right.
Anyway, we won't talk about footy too much. We won't talk about footy, but
it's a bit hard for us because we're sitting here looking out the window and we've got the young kids on the oval.
Yeah, they're
having a kick.
They are. A couple of good ones out there too.
Yeah.
That's for sure. All right, cool. All right, Shane, we're going to go to our second break now, and we'll come back and chat about a couple of other things, and we'll look to wrap the show up and speak about what's been happening in the industry. And we'll be back in just a few moments. All right, and we're back from our final ad break, and we're going to be speaking about a few things in the industry and wrapping the show up. So, Shane, we've got All Energy coming up in the next, 6-7 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, it comes around before you know it. It's like Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's really quick. Well, yeah, Christmas isn't far behind All Energy. I always feel like once the footy finals start, that's the end of the year kind of gone, because it's the lead in to All Energy, and then Christmas is here, and then all of a sudden it's February.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what happens. So looks like a pretty big event again this year at All Energy. You'll be spending you're going to go 1 or 2 days this year? You don't know yet?
Usually the Tuesday night. And
Tuesday night.
The Solar Cutters awards night, and then both the Wednesday, Thursday. At the
Wednesday
conference.
And Thursday, yeah.
If it's anything like last year, it's a 5-day conference. Tried to cram it into 2.
Yeah.
It was just ginormous last year.
It was, wasn't it? It was huge. It was absolutely huge last year. I'm interested to see what the dynamic's going to be with the CEC not having the accreditation this year.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how that's all going to play out, if it's going to be like nothing or...
Yeah, I got a little feeling that it's just going to be situation normal.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, but it's going to be a little bit interesting. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be too big a change, especially not from All Energy side of things.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as the All Energy side goes, I think they wouldn't even really know or care about the accreditation. They're more interested. All Energy, here we go. Here's a scoop. No, All Energy, they're more interested in the actual conference side of things with the policy type things. Like, just our part of it is only a small part of it, I think, for them. Like, we've got the trade show and the Solar Masterclass and all the things that people go to.
Solar Masterclass is going to be a good one this year.
Yeah.
New 4777 and things like that. There's going to be lots to talk about.
Yeah.
I always get a lot out of that.
Yeah.
And we get really good talkers, good speakers.
Yep.
We're lucky as an industry like that. So there's never a shortage of those. And I'm really looking forward to it. I always look forward to All Energy.
Yep.
But not just the technical side of the social aspect,
the networking
as well,
side too.
Get to catch up with friends and things, and me sort of after the RACV days, and sort of you do lose a little bit of touch with the industry a little bit,
Yep.
So yeah, things like that, All Energy and that sort of things is really important for me now, just to keep touching base with people, and what's happening.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I may as well mention then that the tickets for 2 of the main events which lead up to All Energy have gone on sale. So that's first the Solar Cutters Awards Night. Yep. So that's now, the tickets are now available for that. I think you go to Eventbrite or you go on the Solar Cutters page. Anyway, maybe I'll put some links in the show notes about that. If you're interested in coming, it's a great night. Yep. It's always...
I've got my tickets.
You're already sorted, yeah. Well, it's probably the biggest night of the year for the industry, I think. Everyone will be there.
Same venue too.
Same venue, I believe, Melbourne Public, I think.
Yeah.
Same place. Good venue, that one.
It was.
Yeah. Hopefully, if you're listening, Costa, just maybe if you can have an area where the music is not as loud.
Yeah, it was a bit loud.
Yeah. Like, I don't mind there being a bit of an area where it's a bit, more high vibe sort of thing. Yeah. I want to be able to talk to people though, and I can never hear in those environments. I have a lot of trouble hearing people.
A lot of people sort of out in the
beer garden,
the forecourt out the front. Yeah, to try and be able to talk.
I ended up in the smokers' corner. I'm like, I don't even smoke. Why am I out here? It's because that was the quietest place. So that's no good. Anyway, so I don't know.
They do a good job putting those events on.
They do. They do a great job. Every time it's a really great night. So really looking forward to that. The night before All Energy. And then there's the event which is before that. So that's the event that Wise are putting on. I think it's the third one. I don't know if it's the third one. I think it is. It's the third one I've been to anyway. I'm not sure if I went to the first one or not. Anyway, it's an annual event, Recharge Your Spark. And that starts that morning of the Tuesday before All Energy. So those tickets are available now too as of the last couple of days. And a lot of people will go to the Recharge Your Spark for the day and then head to the Cutters Awards Night. It's such a great day of the year. The Recharge Your Spark event it's really good to connect with the people in the industry, do things with them, learn the good stuff about them, it just sets the tone really well for the whole conference. So if anyone's thinking about going to that, jump on. I've been. It's lots of fun. Please go. I don't know. It's probably limited tickets, so I don't know. Bobby's probably going to hate me for promoting it too much because I don't know. It might just sell out. I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, it's a great. If anyone's thinking of going, it is a really great event to go to. So jump onto that. And yeah, what else we got? What else we got at All Energy? So it's just walking around the trade floor and just running into people. That's
the trade
probably
floor is what I get a lot out of that.
Yeah,
not just to catch up with people, but seeing where technology's at, where products. There'll be going to be a lot more EV stuff this year. Yeah.
I reckon that too. I think there was always that last year EVs sort of stepped up a bit more as well, and now I think this year it's going to be even more.
Well, very soon we talked about bi-directional charging for cars. Realistically, a car's a big battery on wheels, isn't it? And we've been working with battery, technologies and inverters and that successfully for a long time,
Yep.
And this whole bi-directional thing as it kicks off, there's going to be some really interesting products coming back out very soon. So, all-in-one units with the home battery, the car charger, the whole lot, solar, everything. It's going to be an interesting game coming through soon. So
yeah, no, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. You know what? We should make a prediction. So I've noticed every time I've been going to All Energy, it's been called different things over the years. It landed on All Energy, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, whatever it was. I've watched every year this Melbourne conference. We've shared it with the Waste Expo.
Yes,
and I've watched the Waste Expo just be pushed further and further down the corridors, down the halls.
Excuse the pun, but they're being compacted into the corner.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Do you reckon how long do you reckon they've got at the same venue as we've got?
Well,
they're on borrowed time, aren't they? The Waste Expo.
They are. So it's not going to be long till we actually start filling up the forecourt out the front of the expo.
Yeah, that's right. It's getting. I know because it's so much bigger than it was 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, remember, go back a few years now, and it was only 2 or 3 sections.
Yeah,
and before you know it, off it's gone.
Yeah, well, the Waste Expo was basically the same size, I think.
Yeah,
at some stage.
Yeah, it was. There was 2 sections for the solar and 2 for the Waste Expo, and
they've just been pushed further back. I love that, compacted down.
They'll be compacted into the compact area out the back soon. So.
Oh, that's good. All right, good stuff. All right. I also want to mention as well, give my own CPD a little bit of a plug. So we've got another course we're about to release. So that's if anyone wants CPD, you can watch the video with that we had when we had Scott Beasley in. Scott Beasley, yep. There was a good chat with him talking about regulation, legislation, battery stuff. A couple of really poor jokes from me just to try and lighten the mood, but no, it was a great chat with Scott. He's wealth of knowledge, so that was good. You can get, if you wanted to watch that, there's a quiz attached. And CPD for that too. So that's coming out in the next week or so, which is good. That's been approved for CPD. And that's, I think, pretty much it. I'll move into some closing remarks. Now, Shane, you got anything you want to finish the show with?
No, I just, really appreciate you asking me to come on, and I'm certainly glad I did. So,
yeah. Not that scary, is it?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So, after the first couple of minutes of settling in, you settle in pretty well.
Yep.
No, it's been a privilege to be part of this industry, and it's that collaborative side of things has been what's really driven me, and that I've got the enjoyment out of, and because we all want to go to work and enjoy work, don't we?
Yeah.
And been pretty lucky with that. So. That's been a great thing.
For sure. I feel like if you're not enjoying what you do, you're in the wrong job or you're in the wrong industry or whatever. Absolutely. So I think that's something that we should all take from this.
Yeah.
That's good. No, it's been great having you on, Shane. You got an interesting story throughout the years, going through different things in off-grid and sort of changing paths a little bit.
Yeah.
Being up on the roof, being helping people, being in the classroom now.
In the classroom, yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's the next stage.
No, it's good. It's really good. Thanks a lot for coming on. And yeah, everyone else, we'll see you at All Energy. I've got another. Actually, I'll have to check. I don't know who I've got coming in next week. Maybe I've got to work on that. I don't know who's coming in next week. Sometimes it happens all quite late, so we'll see.
It does kick off.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But anyway, all right. Well, thanks again, Shane, for coming in. Thanks everyone for listening. If you are enjoying the content, please like us on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube. The YouTube subscribers are going up one a week at the moment, I think, which is good. So anyway, hopefully it'll start to grow soon. If not, that's okay. But if you are liking it and you are thinking about subscribing, please subscribe on YouTube. That would be great. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll be back the same time next week on Solar Sidekicks. Thanks very much. See you later.